Deified is many things, a track, a perfume and a video. Can you explain how those three elements work together?
Well, it wasn't an easy task, but it was definitely easier than the first project we did together. Because Deified actually took the same kind of steps that Special Monkey first project did. So we trying to blend together, literally, perfume, music, videos, the look and feel and packaging. And so there were many elements which has to put together and saying the same story, basically. So Deified was kind of we were already quite trained for that. But I think there was one problem that we often kind of discussed together, that because the first project was a huge success, I mean, the musical track was really welcome by, if not thousands, millions of fans, and the perfume sellout was incredible, which took us to produce something which was a little bit different, a little bit deeper in every sense, from the perfume point of view, from the music point of view, and then obviously the video. So we had to make some tough decision in order not to fail the expectation.
Deified the track. So could you tell us who's actually playing on the track and what did each of the individual players bring to the party?
Yeah, there's Sergio. He done it all. Sergio, myself, and Carl Brazil on drums, who plays with Robbie Williams mostly. Lawrence Kotler is a great jazz player who's done stuff with me in the past. He played on the Headless Cross album that we done a long time ago. And Mike Exeter's playing, who's my engineer and he's a producer as well. He's playing keyboards and bits of stuff. And then we've got Ben Andrews, who done all the orchestrational stuff. So yeah, between everybody, it was quite a lot of things going on.
And was there anything that you look for in particular when you're assembling these musicians together?
Good players, which I know they are. You know, I mean, Lawrence is a fantastic jazz player, and he can adapt to all sorts of music. And Carl Brazil, the drummer, the same. He does in fact, I spoke to him today. He's doing a movie at the moment. He's playing on some movie tracks, so he's always busy. So yeah, it's and Mike Exeter's a good sort of all round. He's engineer and plays keyboards. So yeah, and then us.
What's it like playing with another guitarist?
Absolutely awful. No, it's great. We had some good fun. It's great doing stuff together, I think, you know. And not only that, you're getting somebody else's ideas coming in as well. You know, like when we done Centre Dark, I put the main riff down, and then Sergio came up with these other parts, notes that were really good, that I wouldn't have probably gone for. And you know, he looked on it in a different way, and it's really good.
And why the name Deified?
Well, with Tony, we went through again. I mean, obviously we had to start from somewhere, and I think the first thing was probably the name. So we went through different options, and then I was reading. It's a friend of mine gave me just this little booklet on poetry, which was palindromic poetry. And I said, well, this is crazy. So I just kind of find few words which we could be connected with, mainly with Tony's kind of lifestyle and artistic careers. And he really immediately liked Deified. And I said, look, for me, it's something that we can work around it. It could be, we could refer to a riff. It could refer to a story. It could refer to many things. So why we don't just go down that road and see how it goes. So really, everything starts from the name. And as you know, like always, we don't do one thing at a time. We bring forward several things at a time. So we exchange obviously point of view on the perfumes, and he kind of sent me over the musical tracks idea. Then, when possible, we meet up in UK. If not, we exchange, WhatsApps and any different. So we are always in touch. It's like kind of a creative kind of a formula which really doesn't stop. And sometimes I text him in the evening, and when I see the tick is grey, that means he's gone to sleep. So
he normally starts about sort of 8 o'clock, and then we go to bed at 9:30. And it's him. No, it's great. I think it's really great that we've got a great relationship, and we have since we first met. And it shows, when Sergio would come over to England a lot, come to the house, bring different samples to try, and we go through all the stuff together. It was really, really interesting, and he taught me a lot about that, because I never knew that side. I always liked, perfumes, and I'd always collect them when I was touring around the world. I'd always get different types of perfume. So it was really interesting to know a lot more about it, and who better to ask than him?
Can you tell me about the recording process?
No.
Go on. Surely it's not a trade secret. No, I'm curious how it sort of went. I mean, was it done as a live thing? Were you putting together sort of bit by bit? How did it work?
Well, it's the same way as I've done most stuff, really. Come up with a riff, and then Mike Exeter, I'd put the riff down, and he'd put a programmed drum thing to it, and he'd play bass or keyboards or something, just to make it sort of something to present, really. And then, in our case, then it'd go to Sergio and see if he likes it, and then he'd do his part. And then, and the same, then we go in the studio with the drummer, and he'd put the drums on and bass. So we do it that sort of way, really. I mean, there has been, doing the live stuff, I haven't done where we've all played live for a good many years. Well, the last album, 13, when we done that with Sabbath, was all live. But you tend to sort of, especially in our state, where Sergio's in Italy and we're here in England, it works just to send the ideas and see what he thinks. Or when he's come over, play him something, and he said, "Oh, I like that." As we did with Centre Dark, we played a few things, didn't we? And that's it. And he went away and come up with some bits, and yeah.
So is it like rock and roll tennis then, where you're sort of pinging ideas?
More or less,
from
yeah.
Yeah.
Sergio, would you agree that music and fragrance hit us emotionally in such a unique way that no other art form can?
Oh, indeed, big time. I mean, one of the reasons of this collaboration with Tony is to try to find a new way to express what I do best, which is perfumery, of course, and try and make sure that you can trigger emotion with different sense of that belongs to the human being. So it's not just the sense of smell, but it's obviously the hearing, and why not the video, and why, I mean, the bottle, which actually more or less we designed together, all the little bits and all the details. So there's always this kind of a multisensorial wish to create something which is just more than a perfume or a musical track and so on. But it's because of this complexity that from the very beginning, that like Tony was mentioning, the sense of dark, when he started to put together the musical track, he said, well, I would like to introduce some strings, and it's something that you will never expect. There was a good creative idea, and it really worked well. And that was something that in a way inspired me to do something different with the perfume. So, this kind of approach with patchouli and leather, but then we had this kind of a floral and fruity head start. So there was also this mix of that. If you say something that sounds horrible, but then when you smell it, it's fantastic. So we had this kind of input that we exchange, because he really started to have in mind something, to create something different. And also in Deified, the orchestra, the orchestra bit is just fantastic. And that really gave me the input of creating something which was really deeper and darker than the previous perfume. and so we did with the video.
And he comes up with some great ideas. I mean, some of these designs, and I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's absolutely fantastic. The bottles, the packaging, it's just number one. You know, it really is great. And he's got a great mind for coming up with ideas. He comes up with some really good ideas. I don't like them, but he does come up with some good.
I convinced him. I convinced him.
No, he's really.
Tommy, trust me.
No, he's really creative. Very, very creative, and it's worked with both with the perfume and the music. You know.
I mean, speaking of that creativity, I mean, were there any happy accidents during the recording of the track, or was it exactly just so?
I don't know what a happy accident would be.
Or something that you hadn't planned for example, where the track went in a particular direction, or perhaps you'd sort of found a new chord.
Yeah, well, you never sort of know. You start off with a basic idea,
yeah,
and you never quite know where it's going to go, because I never sort of plan it's all going to sound like this, and then you try different things, as we did on this track, where we had more of the orchestral thing and choirs and whatnot, and I never knew it was going to go that way. But then you try it, and it came out different to what we've done before, what I've done before, and yeah, it was. And Sergio liked the idea as well, and that's the thing, we've been able to swap things. Do you like this? Do you like that? And work that way. And it's good. It's all very creative. And then same with the video, when he come up with the idea. He's non-stop. He doesn't stop. Brain's going all night. That's why I switch my phone off when it's 9:30.
But he's an early bird. I'm not that early, so we catch up during the day.
You've been up early sometime, haven't you?
That's why you complement each other so well.
Oh, it's been really good. And ever since we first met, we hit it off straight away.
How did you first meet?
How we first met was through another friend of ours. It was Jimmy, wasn't it?
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
And Sergio was doing a track in Italy for a charity track, and I couldn't do it at that time. And basically that's how it started. And he sent a box of perfume over. And God, I felt so bad because I couldn't do the track, and he's done that. And then we ended up talking, and phoned him up to thank him and whatnot.
During lockdown, that wasn't it?
Yeah, and then we hit it off straight away.
And can you tell us about your studio, Tony? I mean, I understand this was done in your home studio, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the coach house with the house originally. And then we made it into a studio. And what can I tell you about it? 17th century building.
Yeah.
There's the actual studio itself. Mike Exeter's, the engineer, has designed a lot of it. We had a studio designer come in and design it. And we're still going on changing bits and dabs, where this is going to fit and that's going to fit. But it's worked out well. It's got me out the house and stopped my wife from complaining about the noise. No, it's been really handy to have it. I had one at the last house where I had a full studio with drum rooms and everything, but here it's just the control room, which works all right. And then if we're doing drums, and as in this case, we go into another studio and do the drums there. We've done the bass at my house.
And all the rest there.
Anything quieter, we're all right.
Sense of smell, emotion and memory are so strongly entwined, and neurologists now know that those senses are hot-wired into the same most evolutionary ancient part of our brain. So I want to know, how important is your sense of smell to you and your emotional responses to it?
So that's why I've been miserable then.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you like smell, basically? How does it make you feel?
Well, I mean, that's of course is important for me, and yes, I think that. I mean, we've been working on this subject for a few years now, and we often say that every individual has his own baggage, has his own olfactive memory, like we call it, and that is a witness of our culture, our personal lifestyle, religion, and where we grow up and who we are. So we all kind of we have this database somewhere in our brain, which is puts together all these smells that we picked up during our lifetime, and obviously that is something which is not easy to read in ourselves, but it's there. So when we create a perfume, we recreate part of the memories. Well, it's the exercise we've done with Tony in his music. I mean, there are some elements which are part of his universe, like the leather, the metal, and all those objects which somehow needs to be there for the storytelling. But then we have Tony as a person, not just as a musician, which is always the case. Behind an artist, you always have the artistic universe that everybody knows. Then you have the personality in his private life. So a perfume needs to be a little bit like a book where it reveals all these facets. And obviously not everybody is able to read perfectly or everything you put inside the perfume storytelling, but it's exactly like a musical track. You can listen it 100 times, and 100 times you find different kind of tweaks and different which they make it good. But I just come back what Tony was saying before. When you have an idea, it's a basic idea, and you start putting down the first steps of the project. You cannot really plan creativity. Creativity is something which comes out. Tony he creates a riff, and I create a concept, a design, a perfume, but it's something which is quite free, to a point where then everything needs to be perfectly packaged. So all the details that I seen Tony. I was lucky enough to be with Tony when he was finalizing recording with Mike, and you get through literally 100 times the same track and to twist it to perfections. And Tony is a perfectionist. So, but this is the final stage where everything needs to be perfect, like the details on the packaging, like the last version of the perfume, and so on. So it's a mix and match between creativity, the freedom of creativity, but when it comes down to finalize the project, then I think we are very, very similar in being really, really picky on making sure that every little detail is at least the way that we feel is correct.
I mean, when we first started as well, Sergio said to me, come with a list of all the things you like the smell of, leather or roses or whatever it may be, chocolate. And I did, and it went from scratch. It wasn't just, he made something out of what was the smells that I like or could associate with. And it's a really great, people probably think, oh, he's just putting his name to it or doing it. It was nothing like that. It was together. And Sergio would come up with all these mixtures of stuff, of scent, and bring them over, like 8 bottles, little bottle samples, and we'd try them. And then he'd come back again and with some more and then some more. And it went backwards and forwards, didn't it, until we found one that, oh yeah, we like this,
I was going to ask, when do you know when to stop with both the fragrance and the track? When do you know that there are no more tweaks needed, you need to stop?
Well, when we start to get bored, don't we?
When we go for a curry.
Yeah, basically. That's it. Well, enough is enough, isn't it? Yeah. When we decide there's a launch date, stop playing around.
So can you tell me about the compositional process then? Because you've just sort of mentioned how Sergio created the scent through going through a list of all your own favourite smells. How do you then translate that from a scent to something which is musically based?
Well, I don't know if it really did. It was basically having a riff that comes up, and between the two of us, you know, that's why I share it with Sergio, see what he thinks. I'll present a riff and put it in a structure, and then we go from there, and it sort of fits somehow.
I think it's like putting together, I don't know, a movie. You know, you have a movie director, you have an art director, you have the photography director, and so they're all aiming for the same result, although they all have a different role into it. So I think it's pretty much like that. It just comes out okay, you know. We don't. I mean, it couldn't happen that we would struggle. You know, maybe I have a perfume in mind that we decided to go and he come up with something which is completely. So it never happened. I mean, this is the second project we do, and it looks like that. I mean, feels like, you know, both what we do match almost perfectly. So it's not really. I mean, that's why it's difficult to answer to this question, because we never had the difficulties of not finding a creative solution of what we have in mind.
But I mean, it was always going to be a heavy approach in terms of, you know, with the guitars that you're doing, a down-tuned kind of sound. I mean, you were never going to go for like Laguna Sunrise, were you, or something like that?
Well, we may have done. No, it's whatever we both liked, and again, it's like the same process as it did with the perfume. Try this, try that, try that, until you find the right bit. And the same with putting the song together or instrumental together. You try a bit and maybe move that out and put another part in, and build the thing till it's right. And it all seemed to fit.
Yeah, there was one I remember one summertime, I can't remember which year, which we spent an entire afternoon just listening to different riffs. I mean, I probably was something like.
He fell asleep twice.
Yeah. I was snoring, wasn't I?
Yeah, we did. I mean, and that was the way to do it. When we done the Centre Dark, I played him these ideas, and then we both decided on that one particular idea to work on.
So I think that answer to your question is because that he were putting on the table various directions. Obviously, within Tony's style, that's where, you know, we are talking about pop music or hip hop or anything like that. So it's obvious that we have a direction there. So I mean,
that's the next one.
Yeah, well, we have to dance though.
Who's going to be doing scratching?
Well, and dancing, yes. So obviously, I mean, the style is there. So, and it's just a matter of finding, you know, again, something which is hardly been done before. You know, from different directions, and I said, I mean, we haven't done dozens of projects together. We've done 2 projects together, and I said that the first one, it was difficult because it was the first time that we were introducing a perfume blended with hard rock and heavy metal. So it seems quite odd to say something like that, but it really worked out well. And but not because we say that, which is important, of course, but because the final customer says that. So the project was understood, and the music and the perfume was more than welcome. So I think that the different now was trying to match the success of the first edition. Definitely, that was the most important thing that we were quite worried about when we.
Yeah. Well, I love the dedication he's got as well. You know, the way it puts everything into it. I mean, that packaging and the bottles and the ideas are he's just constantly coming up with stuff. You know, really, really, really good. Yeah, you might do well if you keep on. You know, you might.
One day, maybe.
One day.
Not sure about. I could give it a try.
You're both artists in your own right, and working together in this way for a second time must have been so interesting. Can you share any stories with us behind the scenes of how you worked together? How much time did you spend together?
I think if we do that, we end up in jail, don't we? I mean,
we spent a lot of time together, really. Excuse me, over the years. It's you know, he comes over to England a lot. I can't believe how many times he does come over, and it's quite casual for him. He lands and drives up, and then we have a get together, then curry. Then he goes back. It's incredible.
No, we get through various topics. Of course, music is one, and perfume, but not only. You know, we get through, you know, what I've done in the last 40 years, and he tells me what he's done in the last 40 years. Yeah, I mean, it's as I said, we never intended to do some business together, but to do some, to have good fun. That was and that's what is, you know, I think this is still the way it's going. We didn't need to do that. We done it because we thought that it was a brilliant idea to put together a project like that together, and until we'll have fun doing it, we will carry on doing it.
Yeah, I think it's really, for me, it's opened another world of interest on what's involved in the perfume business. I mean, I couldn't believe it when, you know, some of the things Sergio's told me, where, I mean, he goes out and sorts the stuff out himself, goes all around the world finding particular plants and flowers and whatever. It's incredibly fascinating, I think. And I say I've always been interested in getting different perfumes and stuff over the years, but after meeting Sergio and hearing some of the stuff, how you do it, God, it's incredible the amount of things that go into it.
And can you talk us through the mood and the atmospherics of the track, and what kind of sort of reactions are you hoping to sort of evoke from it?
A good reaction, I hope. It's well, it's a sort of different thing for me by what we put on the track now, with the choirs and, you know, orchestration. I mean, we've done it before, but I particularly like this idea.
I mean, I think there's like a colossal sort of sense of drama about the track. I mean, certainly from when those drums come in, and I mean, I think it just sort of takes it onto a sort of completely another level.
I think, you know, when I start writing, I always try and get that sort of drama in it and power. And I think we've done it with this with different ways, in a different way, where it's all been guitar in the early days. This time it's introducing different things, and it's it's very church-like. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and the video as well. I mean, whose idea was that?
Well, that again, we needed to do something different. So we talked about that a couple of times when we were together about taking different approaches. But then it looks like what I had in mind didn't have the correct complexity, because I mean, the track, it starts in a really powerful way. I mean, there's the Tony's guitar, which it couldn't be anybody else, and that is not enough. And then there's this kind of crescendo. You know, it gets heavier and heavier and more important. And then you had the drum, and then the chorus, and it just looks like, you know, you're telling a story which you don't know where it ends. So the idea is that if we do a movie, we need to call Spielberg or somebody like that, because just to describe. So we had to go. I had to go another direction and say, well, we just tell a story, and because the perfume and the musical track are so important, the story could be just a sketch. And then I said, well, we need to tell a story which is a story of what the days that we are all living, you know, in a way. But then I had another problem. So maybe we are too pessimistic here. So we are describing the world as it is at the moment. So what about if we describe the situation through the eyes of a child? And so history is important, and this, you know, the story of this child, which is see the complexity of the time which he's living in, but because he's a child, he can reverse everything. So he can kind of do the Deified kind of a game, and can reverse everything. So that's the idea, to put some positive message into what we do. So, and I think it worked well. And I think that the fact that we in the video, myself and Tony again, which I'm really thankful, we are playing again together, but we are not the center of the story. The story is what we've done. Is the musical track, is the perfume. It's not just us. We're almost like, you know, we are there but we are not there. It's almost like in a Hitchcock movie where we appear sometimes and then we disappear. You know, just it is us, but concentrate on the track, concentrate on the story, concentrate on the perfume, and yeah. So that's what I think is the video was. We kind of put it together with this artist, which Donato Sansone, which has been working with me and with Sergio for many years. And the guy is crazy enough, you know. He's worse than me and Tony put together. I mean, and my main work is actually to calm him down, because the ideas was much more kind of a splatter than what he came out with. So I said, no, well, remember, we're still talking about, you know, Tony Iommi, we're talking about perfume here, so we had to kind of slow it down. And in fact, I was quite kind of, because obviously I did show to Tony and his team the idea that behind and the style and everything. But then while we were kind of finalizing the story, and I said, I kind of waited a few weeks and said, I want to put the true story together, and finger crossed he's gonna like, because we done obviously the music and the perfume, but the idea, the style of the video, but the full story is something which has to be completed. So I sent it through to Tony, as obviously it was not finalized, was more kind of a, you can call it a layout, if you can call it like that. It was animated already, but it was a layout, and then you know, we agreed that was the right direction, and again, everything we done before, it was a kind of a maximalism style. So we put so many things inside, like, you know, the perfume is full of ingredients, the packaging is full of details. I mean, his musical track, I don't know what else he could have done, you know. So we are, you know, the complexity of what we do, it shows that we are passionate. We want to do more and more and more. So we had to kind of put some a story which again has to be different in style than what we did previously, which was good fun in the previous.
Yeah.
In the previous,
Yeah.
was,
And they've been both very different. You know, it's, the first run we did at what's the name of the hall?
in the Suzy Castle.
Yeah, Suzy
Castle.
Castle,
Oh yeah.
which was great. You know, and then this one's
Yeah, we did this kind of almost horror story in the Suzy Castle, and I came from Italy ready for, well, pretty much like today, with the cloud and rain, and probably one was the hottest
it was
day
hot, yeah.
in the century, and we all dressed up in black, and it was horrific,
It was
wasn't
hot,
it?
yeah.
And yeah, it was really tough, but it was good fun.
I mean, you say you've been doing this all your life. I mean, to what extent, if any at all, I mean, is the Tony Iommi of 2024 in competition with that pioneer that broke through in the late 60s, early 70s? Or is it a continuation?
It's just a continuation. It's not a competition to try and... The thing on the last album, when we used Rick Rubin, his idea was to take us back to the first album and get us to sound like... You can't do that. That was then. You know, you don't sound like that anymore. You play different. Things change. You've got to move on. And I just take it as it comes now. And what I like, the good thing, position I'm in now, is I can write stuff. It doesn't have to be exactly like everybody expects it to be. And I think this track's one of the things, like, it's not what people would expect.
Mm. Are you going to sort of develop this, the instrumental path further at all?
Yeah, well, I have done. I've done a couple of instrumental tracks that I haven't put out yet. Of course, we're still working on them. But
So it's something you're going to pursue then?
yeah, Not fully. I mean, I like the idea of having vocals and on it really, but I have got some instrumental stuff in the can now.
As a musician, as an artist, what keeps you motivated? I mean, you don't have to do this, do you?
No, not at all. It's a belief. It's something in you that makes you do it. You want to do it. I don't need to do it, but I like to do it, and I can do it at my own pace now. You know, where you're not on the road touring for 18 months. You know, that's what you've got to do. But now I can work a couple of days and say, well, I won't do anything for a week. I'll do something else, and then come back to it. So it's sort of a life of luxury in one way, you know, and which has been good. And it was also good on the road, and good because it gets you into a thing of working and doing it. But now I can do it and come back and say, I'll I'll come up with some ideas. And it's good, and I've got lots of ideas I've taped and have yet to go back and listen to, really. I'll just do them while I can, and then save them. And some of them I've had for years and never actually gone back on them. I must do it one of the days. I keep planning on doing it, but once I sit in the studio, I come up with something else. And I plan to go in, I'll go and listen to some of those, and I'll start playing, I'll tape that. So I'll put something else different down. One of these days I will go back and listen to them.
I was going to say, Sergio, you say much the same about fragrance ideas. You've got all these drawers full of projects and ideas and innovations, and then you're always thinking about the next thing as well. But it's clear that you love working together, you really enjoy working together. So can we expect a third?
Yeah, I think that I can do a follow-up of what he's saying. I mean, in Xerjoff we have that you need to do, because we are an independent company. We don't belong to multinational. We don't have a contract saying that you need to come up with 4 perfume a year for Christmas and St. Valentine, all that. So that doesn't belong to us. So I just follow up exactly what he says. I mean, you do something because you really enjoy doing it, and it's a challenge. So it's not easy what we do, but it's great fun, and it's a challenge. And that's what motivates you to do yet another perfume, because it's not just a perfume, it's a project, which is different. So if you wake up in the morning, you have that in mind, so there's almost no morning or evening or nights. You have a beautiful project to come up with, a great kind of collaboration, and that motivates me, because it's almost like everything else is being done. And one extra perfume in the portfolio will make no difference unless it's a special project.
And I can't believe how quick he comes up with stuff as well. It's amazing when he comes out doing. He brought like the bottles. He brought about 8 or 10 different bottles of all these designs, and I mean it's incredible how quick he's got it all down, and then you have the paper to read about it. I mean, it's really good. Really on the case.
Yeah, we have a good team back in Italy, and which backs me up on all the crazy idea that we put together.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks very much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed that.
Such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tony. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks, Sergio.
Thank you.
And good to meet you as well.
Good to you.
Well, thank you.